Now, Sheriff Arpaio is doing the first law enforcement investigation. It's a very serious, very professional investigation. And I think that the president ought to be deeply concerned what the results are going to be. The sheriff has already said some of the results are going to be shocking. Well, let's hold the sheriff at his word. And again, we'll have the results there. And the issue is unlikely to go away, going to continue to be debated. And a law enforcement determination is going to have to make some impact on millions of Americans.
Yeah, it's outrageous. So where do you see the final direction going? They're building up for war in Iran. The economic crisis continues. Where are we going in general, Doctor?
Well, I think we're headed to some major crises. I think it's not clear today whether the EU is going to be able to get a new refinancing in place for Greece. Greece today says it needs $20 billion more. I mean, the truth is Greece is bankrupt. It's got a social welfare state. They're paying out entitlement benefits they can't afford. And Germany's going to have to cover Greece, which I don't think is going to happen. Iran and Israel even today is again making statements that all of the nuclear facilities in Iran could be hit by a preemptive Israeli military strike. This is the first time Israeli officials have been making statements like this. And I think it again telegraphs that a real shooting war is about to start in the Middle East. I think the covert war, the secret war with Israel and Iran has already started. These assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists, the explosions in Iranian nuclear facilities, the hands of Israeli intelligence and probably U.S. intelligence are all over those kinds of operations. I think the war's already begun.
Certainly. Have you seen the Brookings Institute report, Which Path to Persia, where they discuss everything from a velvet color revolution to another false flag, as well as economic sanctions and other means to start that war?
Well, I think yes, I have. And I think the best path, the one I've been fighting for since I wrote Atomic Iran in 2005, was for peaceful change from within. And we had the opportunity for that. If you remember, in June, I believe it was 2009, when the presidential election was held in Iran, the velvet, you had it was a green revolution. You had all the Iranians in the streets protesting. All Obama had to do was say that he supported the people in the streets to get freedom and a change of government. Obama didn't do it, and we lost a huge opportunity. I think a war is going to be disastrous. I've been against a war. Remind people it's not, it's not an electronics game here. There's going to be thousands of people killed. The war is unpredictable. It could lead to a regional war. It could be nuclear in scope. I've been praying and doing everything I can, writing, to try to convince people that a war is the worst solution. And the Iranians, I walked 200 miles with the Iranian freedom fighters in the United States after I wrote the book in 2005, calling for freedom in Iran. The Iranian people want freedom. We have no problem with the Iranian people. It's this Iranian government that is a group of radical religious zealots that, in fact, are going to pursue a nuclear weapon and will not be stopped by sanctions or negotiations. When the world comes to recognize that, war is still not the only solution. And I pray that we can be more intelligent and support the people within Iran who want to change their own government from within. We don't need to do it for them. We shouldn't do it. We shouldn't be involved. But in a war, it's going to involve, I think, regionally, the United States almost immediately, and it has the potential of becoming a war that could escalate out of control.
Doctor, looking back over the past year, what does it say about the U.S. and the NATO allied forces that in fighting Libya and now look like in fighting Syria, we've allied with al-Qaeda forces, actual members of al-Qaeda?
Well, I've been writing about this in WND and objecting to it. This was all billed as the Arabian Spring. This all like it was a burst of freedom in the region. Obama knew what he was doing. This was a move to radicalize the Middle East. The winners were the Islamic Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, which there's not a more radical force in the Middle East. This is a force that today we're seeing controlling a military dictatorship. It's going to be in in Egypt, Americans are going to have to get out. It's not going to be democracy. The Muslim Brotherhood controls the voting, votes in a much higher proportion, wins control of the government, and stops elections. We've just seen a radicalizing of the Middle East, and it's going on country by country by country. You know, Assad in Syria is being again besieged by the Muslim Brotherhood forces. And I mean, Assad was a dictator and no gem, an ally with Iran, but what's coming into Syria is probably going to be worse. And Obama, again, either knowingly participated in engineering this or didn't understand it, which I don't believe, and didn't take the steps necessary to be on the right side. We've been on the wrong side consistently, a side of forces that are not going to impose democracy and freedom in these countries throughout Northern Africa and the Middle East, Syria, Libya, etc. But it's going to become a Muslim radical group of countries that will ally, even though they're Sunnis, will ally with Iran and cause the Middle East to be a much more dangerous region for everyone.
Now, in closing, and feel free to add any other topics you want to bring up, to what extent are we being driven by the Western foreign policy wonks who've wanted a clash of cultures and who in many senses are building up an artificial extremism in the Middle East to build up an enemy?
Well, I think there's a good deal of that. And I also put it squarely at the globalists on both sides, you know, the Henry Kissingers and the Zbigniew Brzezinskis, who had this grand idea of causing all these crises in order to gain more power. You know, the EU and the euro collapses, well, advance the International Monetary Fund in a global currency. That's been the plan. I think it's going to fail miserably. But the tragedy is that the world is going to go through a period of economic depression and wars that could be a prelude to a like World War I, World War II. And ultimately, there's going to be millions of people in economic misery, millions of people in warfare. This is a formula for having descend on the earth the kind of catastrophes economically and with governments and military conflicts that we haven't seen since World War II. And when I try to calculate the millions of people that died in World War II, what's coming could make World War II look like a minor event. That's what I fear.
And what a shame, too. I mean, obviously the water is muddy on all sides of this issue, but most of all, I think we really don't want that larger war because it would be so devastating. The
point is, what I've been writing for so much, to get to the truth, that we get back, for instance, to the principles our founding fathers in the Constitution, go back to the 10th Amendment, say to the federal government, we don't want to participate anymore. Government does not need to have greater power and to be aggrandized at a greater level. We need people to be in control of their own lives. We need the media to stop being a political media, making millions of dollars telling the global story, while all along the people are lied to and not given the truth. The internet, shows like Alex's, are great resources, but we've got to get back to the fundamental reality that we, the people in the United States, are sovereign, not the government in Washington.
And we'll leave it there for today. We look forward to future updates from you. Dr. Jerome Corsi, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Take care. And that's it for tonight's InfoWars Nightly News, but we do want to remind you of our specials. We're not corporate funded, we're not foundation funded, and we're trying to get out a message to stop what they have designed. So with that in mind, we want to remind you we have 44% off of a yearly subscription right now. That ends on Friday, so take advantage of that offer now. And you can also take a 15-day free trial. Take a look for yourself, see if it's something you want to support. We're available on other platforms as well, but we do need your help getting that message out so we can grow this mission. Thank you and good night.